Hey, this is Mr. N going over Precalc Quiz number 13, Chapter 4, Sections 1 to 4.3. We didn't entirely finish 4.3 because I was including the unit circle, but we did word problems. This was taken on Valentine's Day. Question number 1, multiple choice. Convert the angle in degrees to radians. Express the answer as a multiple of pi. So that means don't multiply by 3.14. Just keep it as a radian. So the awesome proportion, radians over 2 pi equals degree over 360 part over whole. We don't know what radians are, but they give us degrees. That's 36 degrees. So if you reduce that, it gives you 1/10. You cross multiply radians times 10 equals 2 pi. And then you can just do divide by 10 on both sides and reduce 2/10 to be 1/5. Pi over 5 is your answer. A. Number 2, from a hot air balloon, the angle between a radio antenna straight below and the base of the library downtown is 57 degrees as shown below. If the distance between the radio antenna and the library is 1.3 miles, how many miles high is the balloon? So definitely easier problem because I give you a worked out picture already. And so you just need to figure out how high is the balloon. It has a question mark there, just find x. So from 57 degrees, label your sides. You have opposite. Across the 90-degree angle, you have the hypotenuse, and the last side, the shortest side, and the side that is adjacent to the given angle, that is the adjacent. So I don't need hypotenuse, so I need opposite over the adjacent, which is tangent. So tangent of 57 equals 1.3 over x, opposite over the adjacent. Cross multiply, I get tan 57 times x equals 1.3. To solve for x, I'm going to have to divide by tangent of 57 on both sides. There's my calculator equation, and you'll notice that these are all calculator equations. Your answer is C. Question number 3, what is 240 degrees in radians? So again, same thing, use awesome proportion, negative 240 over 360. My greatest common factor is 120, so negative 2 times 120 over 3 times 120. Cancel my 120s. You got negative 2/3 here. Cross multiply. 3 times radians equals negative 4 pi. Divided by 3 on both sides. Negative 4 pi over 3 is our radians. D is your correct answer. Number 4, ABC. So that should be triangle ABC. ABC is a right triangle. The length of AB is 6 units. And the length of CB is 3 units. What is the length in units of AC? So you could draw out the triangle in 2 different ways. Here's one. AB is the hypotenuse, which it doesn't tell you here. And then this side is 3, so that's your hypotenuse. So 6 squared equals 3 squared plus AC squared. That gives you 9 and 36. So let's just say 36 equals 9 plus AC squared. Subtract 9, you get 27 equals AC squared. Take the square root. Of square root of 27 is factors of 9 times 3, so the square root of 9 becomes 3 radical 3, which is choice B. Over here, you're basically stating that AC is your hypotenuse, so these are just the 2 legs, so that becomes leg squared plus leg squared equals hypotenuse squared. So 6 squared plus 6 squared equals 36, and 3 squared equals 9, and you add those 2 together and you get 45. Take square root of 45 and you get 3 radical 5 is your answer. Let's look at question number 5. Alright, so for question number 5, you just have to switch your calculator to radian mode, and then you're just going to type in cosine of pi divided by 6. And your calculator should read 0.8660. Give ratios. So cosine of an angle equals a ratio. So let me give you a hint of what a ratio is. Down here in this problem here, tangent of an angle, tangent 57 equals opposite over adjacent. This is a ratio of the 2 sides. So over here, for question 5a, this is a ratio that's to 4 decimal places. Okay, kind of tricky. You can now switch your calculator to degree mode. Sine of an angle, angle A, equals 0.96. So they're telling you the ratio, you need to find the angle. So here you have to take the inverse. When you take the inverse, you're trying to find this angle. I even give you a hint. Angle A is measured in degrees. There's my calculator ready equation. And angles to the nearest tenth. So you got a point marked off if you didn't round there correctly. Put in your calculator. There's your calculator ready equation. Get measures in degree mode, and you get 73.7 degrees. So sine of 73.7 degrees equals 0.96 is your 0.96 is the ratio. 5C, tangent of 14 degrees. Here you're trying to find a ratio because it's telling you the angle. So tangent of the angle equals 0.2493, so 2 points each. Let's take a look at some student work. Student marked off for not having the degree symbol. Student marked off a point, didn't recognize that they were trying to find an angle here, so they should round to the 10 point off. Not sure here what they got 1. Maybe they did 3.14 divided by, maybe they've typed in like cosine of 0.5, not sure. I think on this one they probably typed in sine of 0.96 and pressed enter and got that one. A student here thought this was trying to find an angle and they put 0.2, so they rounded it to the 10th. So it's not an angle because you already have an angle here. Find the angle of smallest possible positive measure coterminal with a given angle. This is your angle, 1,339 degrees. Find an angle of smallest possible positive. So basically you're trying to find a number between 0 and 360. And its coterminal means you get in the same quadrant. So coterminal angle should have been your hint there. All I need to do is, coterminal basically means same position. So if I do a full rotation, you end up in the same quadrant. So I can just subtract 360 degrees. This is not between 0 and 360. Do it again. Use your calculator. Subtract it. Your answer is 259 degrees. Student work showing it correctly, and I liked seeing the picture, but I didn't give you any credit for the picture. Here the student used the formula and realized you're doing 3 full rotations in the negative angle position. Student marked off a point for not having the degree symbol. The last one was number 7, label the unit circle. So in labeling, I'm hoping you have both degrees, radians, and the order pairs. Let me go ahead and give you my counting technique once again. For the order pairs, I start up here at 12 o'clock, so I go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Then count back up. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And my hint is the 1 o'clock position on the clock is your 1 there. Everything is underneath a denominator of 2. Everything is in a radical, but the square root of 1 is 1. Here in quadrant 1, everything is positive. And then here in quadrant 4, you have positive and then negative. Over on this side, start the same thing. 0 on the x-coordinate, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then 0 down there. Then count back up. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Negatives on the x, y's are positive, and both negative. Then if I'm counting the 45 degree angles, so the middle dot, that's 45. So if I'm counting those, that'd be 45, and then 45 plus more than 90, so that'd be 135. There's 225, and this one's 315 as my angle. Which I didn't label the 45s. Interesting, I'm missing those. And then if I do the degrees and 30 degree angles, 30, 60, 90, 120, 150, notice I'm skipping the 45s. I'm still including the quadrantals, 180, 210, 240, 270, 300, 330, and 360. And then counting by radians, if I count the 30 degree angles or the first and the third dot, so I go 0 pi over 6, 1 pi over skip, 2 pi over 6, 3 pi over 6, 4 pi over 6, 5 pi over 6, 6 pi over 6, 7 pi over 6, 8 pi over 6, 9 pi over 6, 10 pi over 6, skip 11 pi over 6, 12 pi over 6. You lost a point if you missed the negatives. You lost another point if you forgot the degrees, or you lost another point if you forgot the radians. You got 1 point off if you missed like the numbering. If you kind of like forgot 2 of those, like your order pairs are wrong, and you forgot the degrees and you lost 2 points. That's how I was at a 26. Pretty good unit circle there, labeled. Order pairs, degrees inside, radians outside, it's fine. Student forgot the negatives down here in quadrant 4, took off a point. Wow, this one looks totally awesome. It looks just like the paper plate. Student here forgot the radicals. I don't know why, just in quadrant 2. And it should also simplify the quadrantals. Student got 3 points, they forgot the quadrantals, so -1, 0. I gave this student 3 points, forgot an order pair. Got it here, got it there, and then kind of just skipped. I don't know what happened. Forgot some of the radians there too. Alright, question number 8 on the back side. Find cotangent of theta, given that sine of theta is 3/4 and theta is in quadrant 2. Okay, so you got to be in quadrant 2. Sine of theta is 3/4. So sine written in terms of x, y, and r, y over r. Therefore, y is equal to 3, r is equal to 4. So if you labeled your triangle, r is 4, your radius. Y value is a positive 3, and then I need to figure out the x value. Well, you have two sides of a right triangle. You can use the Pythagorean Theorem. R squared equals x squared plus y squared. Substituting your values, r is equal to 4, y is equal to 3, 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16. Subtract 9 from both sides. You have 7 equals x squared. Take the square root of both sides. You have x equals really a positive and a negative radical 7. But here in quadrant 2, you know that your x values are negative. So if you're going left, that's a negative radical 7. Cotangent is the letters x over y, so your x value is negative radical 7, and then your y value is 3, so cotangent is negative. If you got to x equals radical 7, I gave you 2 points. If you left it a positive instead of a negative, I gave you 3 points. Remember, all students take calculus, all students, so over here in quadrant 2, sine is positive, and also cosecant, so everything else should be negative. Everything else includes cotangent. I need to finish grading this one, but I would give this one a 3 because you have a positive and not negative. Should have drawn a picture, that would have helped. I haven't finished grading this one either, but I would probably give this one a 3 points. Even though it's correct, I would have liked to see the Pythagorean Theorem, so they got the right numbers here. I just would have liked to see the work. Again, not enough evidence there. I'm looking, correct answer, no Pythagorean Theorem, nice triangle, like this. They realize that sine is positive in these two quadrants, like that. What happened here? 4 squared is not 12. Double check, use your calculator, guys. Question number 9, solve for x, round to the nearest tenth. I wonder if we've seen this problem before. Oh, that was on the previous quiz or two ago. Same exact problem. So if you missed this problem and didn't get full credit, the bad is on you because it's the same exact problem. You just had your quiz corrections from last time. Start with the given angle, 50 degrees. Label your sides, opposite, across the right angle, hypotenuse. And then your last side is the adjacent. It's next to a given angle, so I only have two sides, adjacent and hypotenuse. SOHCAHTOA, CAH, C-A-H would have helped you realize that you have cosine of 50 equals the adjacent over the hypotenuse. Adjacent is x, and then your hypotenuse is 28. Cross multiply 28 cosine 50, and then x. There's my calculator ready equation, and when you do this, you'll get approximately 18 units when you round. Calculator equation, some students got this, not wrong, you get 3 points. If you used cosine, if you knew it was cosine in there, I give you 2 points. Let's take a look at some student work. This one looks pretty nice. So cosine's correct, equation's correct, calculator equation is correct. I believe they used cosine of 50 is 0.7660, but they forgot to multiply that by 28. So because they had the calculated equation, it gave the student 3 points. The student will get a 1 point, labeled everything correctly on the triangle, but they used adjacent and hypotenuse, but maybe they just saw that and they picked tangent, which is incorrect. Everything looks good, but your rounding's incorrect. Gave the student probably 1 point. 3 points, so 1 point off. So in this problem, number 10, solve for x, round to the nearest tenth. Notice you don't have x, you're solving for an angle. If you're solving for an angle, you have to use the inverse. So from the given angle, I like to circle mine or highlight it, and go ahead and label across. That is your opposite side, and then this is the hypotenuse, and this is the adjacent, therefore you're only using tangent. Tangent of x equals the opposite of the adjacent. The trig ratio of an angle equals its ratio. So if you just put the trig ratio tangent, then you would have gotten 2 points. Now if you use the equation, you'll substitute in opposite of this angle is 18 and the adjacent is 4. So tangent of some angle which we don't know equals a ratio of 18 over 4. If I take the inverse, those are my arrows, which you should be doing, then the inverse of the switching there, the inverse of tangent of 18 over 4 equals x. There's your calculator ready equation. You get 3 points out of 4. And then x is approximately 77.5 degrees. Remember, you got marked off. You don't have degrees there, and you should be rounding to the nearest tenth, which is 1 decimal place. The student here does not know how to label the triangle because we can see that from the x. They call this the adjacent side, which is incorrect. Hypotenuse is correct. This one should be the opposite, and this one should be the adjacent. Here's a rounding error. Should have been 77.5, and they should have boxed it. Now this student, I'm hoping they used here x, and they did opposite side, but this is not the hypotenuse. Hypotenuse is across the right angle. Here the student recognizes opposite of the adjacent is tangent. I gave him 2 points. They don't have a calculator ready equation, and this is incorrect. In order to measure the height of the Rebel Alliance mountain, Darth measures the angle of elevation to the summit to be 30 degrees. So there's Darth looking up at the mountain. Angle of elevation, elevations from the ground looking up to the top is 30 degrees. She then moves 2 kilometers farther away, so goes back and measures the angle of elevation from this position to be 16.6 degrees. How tall is the Rebel Alliance mountain? So here you should have 2 triangles. Here the smaller triangle, 30, h, and x. H represents the height, x is an unknown distance. And if you recognize it, both triangles have the h in common, so solve for h there. Tangent, opposite over the adjacent, tangent of 30 equals h over x. If you cross multiply, you'll get x tangent equals h. Now for this bigger triangle, you would have gotten 16.6, and the opposite side is h, but the adjacent side is x plus 2. Cross multiply and you'll get h equals x plus 2 times tangent of 16.6. Now because they're both set equal to h, you can set them equal to each other. So this goes back to your linear systems. You're just doing the substitution method. So if you set them equal to each other, what I did here is I distribute the tangent 16.6 degrees to each the 2 and the x. Notice here they're separated by addition, so a lot of students miss that part. And then here, I'm subtracting the one that has with the x. So these are together, so you're subtracting this term to this side. And the reason why I do that is now I have the x's on one side. I can take that out as a greatest common factor. Remember, do not be tempted to get 30 minus 16.6 to get something like 13.4 degrees. That'd be incorrect. And then from here, since I'm solving for x here, I'm going to divide both sides by tangent of 30 minus 16.6. Those are my quotation marks, so I do it to both sides. And then you get this equation, x equals 2 times tangent 16.6 all over tangent 30 minus tangent 16.6. You put this all into your calculator, you should get approximately 2.135. Now remember, if you look at our picture, x represents the distance from where Darth was before, and then before she moves back. So this is 2.135. All I have to do is take that number 2.135 and substitute it to any of these equations that say h equals, because that's what we're trying to solve for. So then I put it, you can choose either one. So I put x here to x times tangent 30. Multiply those two and you get a height of approximately 1.23. I scored this if you got an accurate picture, and then I give you 2 points. If you solve for both small and the big triangle and set them equal to each other, I gave you 3 points. If you got stuck around here, still 3 points. If you solve for x to be approximately 2.315, then I give you 2 points. 3 points, and then correct answer with all the work, 4 points. These are called indirect measurements. This picture is not scored, but if I was scoring it, I'd probably give it a 2 points. Actually, not a 1 point, because they don't have this distance here. They call this one x, so maybe the student will call it y. This student has the 2 triangles. Technically, this side right here is not 2 plus x. It's just a 2. But the reason why they did that is so when they did the 2 triangles, you have x plus 2 and just an x. Solve for x. They knew to set it equal to h. Tangent is 16.6, so opposite over the adjacent. So this should read x over x plus 2. That's their mistake. So I gave them 3 points. Here's an example of a student who got question number 11 correct. Shows all the work. They didn't separate the 2 triangles, but that's okay. Here's some more student work where they set them equal to each other, but here when you distribute, think of this as just like 16.6. So that would be 2 times 16.6 plus 16.6 times y. So that's why I gave the student a 3. All right, question number 12. You can just check for your own practice. I said find each function value, but I didn't list like use the unit circle, find exact values, no calculator. So when you do your test, this will be in the non-calculator part. So you're supposed to just find cosine 11 pi over 6. Just use your unit circle, radical 3 over 2. Tangent of 240, your coordinates are y over x, so negative radical 3 over 2 over negative 1/2. So I usually write those sideways. Change the division to multiple change the division to multiplication, take the reciprocal, and then you'll notice your 2's will cancel and you're just left with positive 3. Remember that is in quadrant 3, all students take. So quadrant 3, tangent should be positive. And cosecant and negative 11 pi over 6, just find a coterminal angle. So there I'm going to add a full circle. 12 pi over 6 gives me cosecant 11 pi over 6. And there you have negative 1/2. And then you just take the reciprocal of that and it gives you cosecant, which is negative 2. So again, I didn't count anything on question number 12 because I wasn't very specific. And the last problem, evaluate 4 times tangent of 5 pi over 4 minus 2 times sine of 270. So if you use your unit circle, sine of 270 is negative 1. If you were just trying to use your calculator, don't be tempted to for the quadrantals because that'll be on the non-calculator part. And then tangent of 5 pi over 4 is 1, so 4 times 1 is 4. Negative 2 times negative 1 is 2. Remember, this is a subtraction. So I think of it as a negative 2 times this, and you look at your math operation and you get 6. A lot of students got maybe like, we'll take a look at some student work. Here's an example where I gave the student 2 points partial credit for finding sine of 270 is negative 1. I hope they weren't using their calculator. And I gave them 2 points. Over here, they got that incorrect, so only give them 2. Some student work here looks good. Got 6, shows me the work, happy. Full credit. Oops, student left it blank. Now this problem's a little bit tricky because I gave you both radians and degrees, so this student converted the radians into degrees, so I helped them and helped them get the problem correct. The student got this part correct, converted to degrees but forgot, and then they multiplied. So remember 5 pi over 4. Radians is equal to 225 degrees. That's how angles are measured. Here's a problem. This one's kind of all over the place. This was a common mistake. Students thought that 4 times this was 1, so they multiplied and got negative 8. Incorrect. So these two numbers were correct, but looking at it again, I'm kind of skeptical because I see this student work down here. Tangent. They didn't know what to do. They brought back from the dead sine of 270. So remember, students, this is not multiple choice. Do not make me pick looking at work. This student realized it was negative 1 because that would turn it into a positive, so incorrect. Work looks okay. I would have liked to have seen them simplify each of those first. Here, a student tried to draw, where they are at, but at least you could have gotten an order pair known as a quadrantal. Over here, bow tie problem, this triangle is incorrect. Paying attention to your order of operations and simplifying, that becomes a positive 2. So with that side, out of 20 points, and then front side out of 26, then you should have gotten a total of 46. Hope this was helpful to study for your tests. Good luck.